At Manhattan University, a graduate degree is not out of reach. You'll gain real-world skills, credentials employers value, and connections to New York City's top companies. Choose from their new Master of Science degrees in healthcare informatics, digital marketing and analytics, business analytics, or financial analytics, all built around hands-on learning and industry partnerships. Graduate ready to lead, not just work. Take the next step at manhattan.edu/graduate. Manhattan University. Lead the future.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, we're just coming in that the U.S. military has struck an Iranian drone carrier. That is a biggie in order to basically obliterate its Navy. And also, at this hour, Iran is launching missiles striking at the heart of Tel Aviv. Also, that has been a spot for Hezbollah, too, as well. So there's a lot of activity in the Middle East. And President Trump saying that he has to be involved in picking Iran's leader. I think that's a good thing. I actually think I want to hear what President Trump has to say. He's done a pretty good job so far, and I would trust him to at least have a say. The last thing you want is the Supreme Leader's son to be the one who's deciding who is going to be the next leader. It looks like he's the one who's sort of in the vying position, the number one position there. I don't think the son of the Ayatollah is who you exactly want leading, quote, a free Iran. That doesn't sound so free to me. What do you think, guys? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Meantime, huge changes at the Department of Homeland Security. You probably heard it. Boy, this came down very suddenly today, just a few hours ago, that Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, she is out in that position. She's going to be doing another position. And Markwayne Mullin, the senator, former MMA fighter, you know he's a fighter. If he can fight in MMA, those guys are tough. I've seen a few MMA fights. I had to go for work a couple times. I was like, whoa, that it was really, really brutal and tough. But he was an MMA fighter, so you know that he's planning on fighting to protect the homeland. And he's the one who got piped by President Trump to be the replacement for Kristi Noem. Now, he's also friends with Noem. He's obviously close to President Trump, certainly has the trust of President Trump, but President Trump feels now is a time for a shakeup. Now is a time for a big change. And here is Senator Markwayne Mullin from the great state of Oklahoma. And this was his first reaction when he got picked.
What was your first reaction to just the news that you were nominated for this position, just amidst everything that's happening?
Humbling, because I had to call my dad, and because it happened quick, right? I had to call my wife and call my dad both. And it's just, pretty humbling when you start thinking about it. A little kid from Westville, Oklahoma, gets to serve in the president's cabinet. That's pretty neat.
I love that his reaction was to call his mom and dad, and word came down that he just found out like 30 seconds before President Trump put out his Truth Social, telling the world essentially, here's my choice. So that to me is just beautiful. That is like, I had to call my mom and dad and say, this guy from Oklahoma is going to be the next Secretary of Homeland Security. And I've been impressed with him. He seems like a real no-nonsense guy, certainly cares about protecting the homeland, understands a lot of the issues. And I think that this is a very good, positive change. What's your reaction, though, of this big dramatic twist and turn that happened, that Kristi Noem is out and that Markwayne Mullin is in? Of course, he has to get confirmed by the Senate, but he's a senator. He's one of the boys. He's one of the guys, one of the gals there, too. But if you look at it, Rubio, of course, was one of the senators. He got through swimmingly to be Secretary of State. It's a lot easier to get when it's somebody who's already known to the Senate, someone who's one of their colleagues. Often they kind of sail through very, very quickly. So that looks like it's going to be the path, I think, for Markwayne Mullin. And we already heard from Fetterman, who came out and said that he would support Markwayne Mullin, and they only need a simple majority, by the way the rules are now, to get the approval, to get the confirmation through Senate. So it's not a huge, heavy feat. And certainly he has the respect and the camaraderie and the collegiality with the folks there on Capitol Hill. And certainly there, he was a congressman, also business guy, by the way, and now a senator and soon to be the Secretary of Homeland Security. Now, here's the backstory about Kristi Noem. There were so many different stories that came out as to why did this happen now? Well, President Trump apparently, and a lot of people said they took a little issue with her messaging after some of the recent cases that happened in Minneapolis. Obviously, they pulled her out and they put in Tom Homan. No nonsense, my buddy Tom Homan, they put him in there. But also, there was a big issue with spending. And this is a time where the Democrats are fighting over the budgets of Department of Homeland Security. We're in this partial government shutdown. Shame on them for not funding Homeland Security, even now, with all the threats to the homeland. And then there was this story that she apparently was authorizing some big ad campaign, some $220 million with an M, million, big ad campaign on TV ads with her on the horseback. And you see Mount Rushmore, and they were beautifully produced. But is this the time to be spending anywhere near that kind of money? Any money, but especially something like that, that's significant. That's a whopping amount for any ad campaign by far. And apparently, President Trump was not happy about it. Certainly members of Congress were not happy about it. And so listen to this exchange. This is Senator John Kennedy talking back and forth. Remember, he was, part of the hearing and really had a lot of problems with the fact that Kristi Noem was spending $220 million on an ad campaign. And this is what he threw out there. Listen to this.
How do you square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently?
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes, before I was put in this position and sworn in and confirmed, and since then as well.
Okay. Did you bid out those service contracts?
Yes, they did. They went out to a competitive bid, and career officials at the department chose who would do those advertising commercials.
And the people that you ended up picking were people who had formerly done your political work back in South Dakota. Is that right?
No, that's not correct, sir.
I think it is.
No, it's not, sir. The individuals who, I believe the careers who they chose were two different media firms. There's been conversation about their subcontractors, but we have no legal authority to look into subcontractors on work like that.
Okay. And you're saying that you're testifying that President Trump approved this ahead of time? Is that my understanding?
We had conversations about making sure that we were telling people.
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, sorry to interrupt, but the president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly.
Did the president know you were going to do this?
Yes.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And then Senator John Kennedy, I love this guy. Then he went back and forth with her about knowing the president knew everything about this. And there's a reason I'm telling you this. Take a listen.
What got my attention was that you blamed those statements on Mr. Stephen Miller at the White House. Did you not?
No, sir, I did not. And in fact, where you're seeing that is in a news article of anonymous sources. And anonymous sources say a lot of things, but I've never said that at all.
Well, here's what you said on the record. I'm going to read your words. Quote, "Everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen."
Sir, where did you see me say that at? You read that in a news article with no sources affiliated to it.
You said it on the record on January 27th of 2026. Did I read your words accurate?
I enjoy working with the president and with Stephen Miller, and that day we were working to get as much information to the American people as possible. That is what we'll continue to do, and as that happens, we'll go forward.
Do you think it was fair to blame Mr. Miller?
Sir, I did not do that. You're reading from a newspaper article with anonymous sources.
Are you denying that you said that?
Sir, I'm not going to speak to that situation that is relayed on anonymous sources that no one has heard me say that.
It was you.
No. Who reported that to that newspaper?
They're quoting you on the record, saying it's Stephen's fault. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Wow. And that's a Republican asking the questions. Again, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, guys. I mean, that's a biggie. And word is, by the way, he was referring to the comment she made in Minneapolis, and that was after the death of Alex Preddy and others coming forward and saying it was a domestic terrorist, calling him a domestic terrorist, which I think a lot of people had problems with the way Alex Preddy was attacking ICE. Remember the days before that we saw in the videotape, remember kicking out the taillights and all that stuff, but still. A lot of people took issue with the fact that she was calling him a domestic terrorist, especially as news was just coming in and breaking at that point. So John Kennedy, as it turns out, was having discussions, according to reports, with President Trump, saying, did you approve of some of these things? And the president was saying no, according to reports. And he said, well, I'm going to ask her about this tomorrow because she's coming up before our committee tomorrow. Are you okay if I ask her? And apparently the president said, yeah, sure, go ahead. Go ahead and ask her. So then here's the other one, guys. Wait till you hear this one. This was a Democrat asking about some of her interpersonal relationships. Here's a little bit more from the hearing.
So, Secretary Noem, at any time during your tenure as Director of Department of Homeland Security, have you had sexual relations with Corey Lewandowski?
Mr. Chairman, I am shocked that we're going down and peddling tabloid garbage in this committee today.
Reclaiming
and
my
ma'am,
time.
one thing that I would tell you is that he is a special government employee who works for the White House. There are thousands of them in the federal government.
So reclaiming
and
my
as an
time,
advisor,
Secretary, it is okay for you to be
no
offended
authority
by
to
the
be
question.
making any
it is
decisions.
okay for you to
has
be
no
offended
authority
by the
to
question.
Be making
but it
decisions
is also a
putting
real
a
question.
Position. So what I would say
and
to
you should be able to
is
answer
that
the
what
question
we do at the Department of Homeland
clearly
Security every single
and without
day,
any hesitation.
every single day is to protect
if
this
someone
country
is
and
asking
to make
if
decisions.
You or any federal official is sleeping with their subordinate, that should be the easiest. You should be wanting to answer that question.
Is garbage?
Because it is not about
it is
your sex life.
That you have brought
it is
that
about
up.
your
So
judgment.
that kind of garbage
It is about
has been
reclaiming my
years,
time so that I can hear myself.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from California, but it'd be nice if you would let her respond.
I will. I want to let you know it is about your judgment and decision-making. It is about the 260,000 employees that work under you that want to make sure that you are giving information and making decisions clearly. It is about conflict of interest. It is about a national security risk. Department of Homeland Security was created right after 9/11 to protect the homeland. And DHS has circulated an internal bulletin to law enforcement partners warning that the conflict of the war we're in could inspire lone actors or small-scale cyber activity inside the United States, according to a memo obtained by ABC News. So American lives are at risk. The people who work for you are at risk. And they want to know that the person at the top, you, are making decisions clearly, without any sort of cloudiness, and that they're your decisions because you're the secretary who was confirmed. That's what this is about. Saving the lives of Americans and not costing them millions of dollars and not having a secretary who's compromised in her decision making.
Wow. I was watching some of that and I thought, this is not a good day for Kristi Noem. That was yesterday. And then today, the word came down that President Trump was replacing her. What do you think, you guys, about the new choice? Is it a good move? And what does it mean right now as we are literally in the middle of this battle with Iran and so many threats to the homeland? I can't believe that Democrats again today punted, not even punted. They were pathetic. They did not even vote to fund DHS at a time when we're at war. And it is like blinking lights all over the place with the threats to America. Shame on them. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And you're listening to The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And big news coming out of Iran. As I mentioned, the commander of U.S. Central Command, Admiral Brad Cooper, saying that the vessel, this is a drone carrier ship that the U.S. took out, was roughly the size of a World War II aircraft carrier. And when he made the news that the U.S. military struck that Iranian drone carrier ship, he said, it's on fire as we speak. So, boy, are they decimating the Iranian military. Let's go to Reggie in Texas. Go ahead, Reggie. Your thoughts tonight.
Well, first thing is I think they wanted someone's stick on the head, someone's head on the stick, the Democrats. They kind of have it now with Noem.
By the way, Reggie, you know what I found disgusting was right after it happened. Like a couple of them were like, that's not good enough. In other words, like, we want to see more. I mean, which is one reason why you don't do it. But I think President Trump also felt like maybe some of the comments that she made under oath were not consistent. That's what it sounds like, according to multiple reports. That's a really big issue. Reggie, do me a favor, because I want to talk with you. You're always so terrific. We're going to go. We just have a hard break here, but I want you to stay with us because I want to talk with you afterwards. What you think about Markwayne Mullin coming in, and do you think it was the right move to move Kristi Noem? A lot of questions. Reggie from Texas and the rest of you guys, all of you, I love you all.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Milpitas, California, where to protect and serve took a whole new meaning for two officers in the San Francisco Bay Area. A toddler and a dog were thrown off a balcony when there was video of a rescue of a family from a burning apartment building. And they were thrown to waiting police officers below. Quite a dramatic scene, and it was all released just recently on body cam footage. In less than 2 minutes, two officers arrived on the scene, and they found the doors to the apartments were blocked with heavy smoke and fire. So they said they went up a small hallway leading to the second floor. The door was fully engulfed in flames. They literally said flames everywhere. Getting there, you could feel the heat. You could see so much smoke, and just going towards the building, you could see, obviously, we need to do something, and we need to do something fast. So as they saw that the fire was growing, they immediately worked to plan a rescue to get the family out. They were on the balcony, and they were told that there were 3 people trapped in the apartment, including a 2-year-old toddler. Given the massive smoke and growing fire, the officers guided the parents through the rescue, telling them to drop their 3-year-old daughter to officers on the ground. Can you imagine how scary? So they said, I got her. You have to drop her now. So one of the officers said, I'm a father myself, and that was so harrowing, so nerve-wracking. I just knew I had to get the child out first. Thankfully, all of them were saved in the open arms of police officers who were down below, and all of them are expected to make a full recovery, thanks to our great men and women in blue. Well, we are talking about Iran. We're also talking about Kristi Noem and now Markwayne Mullin taking her place. This is Cut 23. I want to play because this is wild. As all these things are happening, we are taking out so much of Iran's infrastructure. Wait till you hear what the foreign minister of Iran had to say. He did an interview with NBC, and he seemed to think that American ground troops are coming. There's no indication that that's going to happen. But listen to what Baghdad Bob is saying. That's what I call him. This is the foreign minister of Iran saying he's getting ready. Here's what he said.
And I asked Iran's foreign minister about whether his country is prepared for a possible ground invasion from American troops. Watch this. President Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
So you're saying that Iran is ready and willing to take on the U.S. military if there were to be ground troops?
Well, we were ready for this war even more than the previous war. So you can see, the quality of our missiles, how much they are upgraded after the last war, because we learned lots of lessons. And we are prepared for any other eventuality, even, a ground invasion. So our soldiers are prepared for any scenario. When I said we are waiting for them, it didn't mean that we are waiting for continuation of the war. No, but we have prepared ourselves to confront with any scenario, with any eventuality, any possibility, and we know that we can handle that.
We are ready. We're ready for the U.S. to come in. They're not coming in, I don't think. Maybe there's some special forces. It sounds like the Kurds might be coming in, and maybe the U.S. and Israel would do aerial support. That would be the best of all scenarios. We'll see. But boy, the hyperbole and the phrasing coming from Iran is really incredible. And they hit Azerbaijan a little bit ago. So they're hitting all of their neighbors. And we're all wondering, what are the neighbors going to do? Just stand back? They may, or maybe they'll get engaged in the fight. They're mad at Iran. And that's a good thing, I think, for the free world, because it's pretty transparent. Who are the good guys who are pinpointing, hitting military targets, and who are the bad guys that are hitting hospitals, schools, apartment buildings? It's pretty clear who the terrorist regime is, because look at the damage that they have already done in like Dubai and in Bahrain and a whole bunch of other places. Meantime, everybody talking about this big change at Department of Homeland Security, guys. It is a doozy. Senator Markwayne Mullin, who I've interviewed a whole bunch of times, good guy, actually very good guy, and certainly somebody patriotic and a no-nonsense, guy. And we need a tough guy in the Department of Homeland Security. Well, he is now at the helm, and Kristi Noem is out. So here is Markwayne Mullin talking about how surprised he was. I think he found out maybe about 30 seconds before the rest of the world did.
Tell us your reaction when you got the phone call from him.
I was excited. I mean,
when you saw his name calling.
Well, it came from the White House, so it came from the switchboard. But I was excited. The president, first of all, the president and I have a really good relationship. We talk all the time anyways. I've got to be honest with you, I wasn't expecting the call today, but super excited. And I'm more excited about just ready to get started. There's a lot of work we can do to get Department of Homeland Security working, working for the American people. The Department of Homeland Security has a very broad jurisdiction. And I think there's a lot of work that we need to do, and I'm excited about it.
And that's a great attitude that he has. And it's supposed to be at the end of this month. So first big shakeup in the Trump administration. I'm not surprised because it sure seemed like when Kristi Noem came out after Minneapolis and the fact that they publicly replaced her there on the ground and switched the commanders and all that stuff, and they brought in Homan and everybody else, that to me was obviously a sign that things were going to change. And it was done very publicly. But the president still said, I have my full, faith and respect in her. I think it was a lot of the things that we just talked about in her testimony. I think it really upset President Trump, a number of these points, especially the spending $200 million. He says, no, he did not approve that. He said, why, essentially the word is, why is she saying I did? I didn't. Knew it looked bad. And also, apparently, he didn't approve it. There's different, accounts here. But if he didn't approve it and someone's suddenly spending $200 million, that could be a problem. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go back to Reggie on line 4 here on the Rita Cosby Show. Go ahead, Reg.
First of all, that foreign minister reminded me of 2003, Baghdad Bob.
Yeah. How did you like the military's coming? We're waiting. That's like who was it? Ali Veshi. Do you remember on MSNBC saying it's a peaceful protest, and then you see the police station burning down to the ground behind him.
Yeah, he should check his emails because every other day he's getting a new boss sending him an email, so he should check that. But getting back to the senator there from Oklahoma, I think there comes a point in time, and this is no knock, and I'm going to say this, I hope it sounds right. I think you just need an alpha male, and you need someone, a type A personality, someone right out of central casting, or Tom Homan is kind of the tough police detective who takes care of business. I'm going to say this just being from Texas. He's the cowboy riding in. He's saddled up. He's got the Winchester, and he's ready to take care of business. And I think that's what we need. We need someone who's going to have a strong presence. She did a good job. She gave up a lot to take the job.
Yeah, she did. And by the way, she was a good governor too. And I think, I think she also had a very difficult job, which is one of the things, Reggie, that I have, sympathy for her because we knew. I mean, I think America, you looked at the way some of the Democrats were, upset about the closing of the border, shall we say. But I don't know if anybody, even in the Trump administration, expected as much resistance and as much, I just call it lunacy. I mean, everything is anti-Trump. I mean, they wouldn't even stand up in the State of the Union for the Medal of Honor recipients because it was tied to Trump. They wouldn't stand up for the mother who lost her beautiful daughter, Irina Zaruska, in Charlotte, remember, stabbed to death. Wouldn't applaud for her. And they hate ICE. There is such a horrible, anti-ICE, even today. We had somebody yesterday. I had Senator Langford. I played this for you guys because Senator James Langford, who knows also, obviously, Markwayne Mullin, well, they're both from Oklahoma. He said that the Democrats seem to hate ICE more than they hate Iran. So I also think it was a really difficult job and a really unforgiving job and a hard job. And maybe you need a real tough alpha male because you are just dealing with, you need a tough alpha figure, whoever it is, because these people are tough. And after a while, remember, she's been doing it now, not a super long time, but, over a year. It probably feels like 20 years to her. Don't you think, Reggie?
Oh, yes, ma'am. And one can argue, Miss Rita, that job, she's received more slings and arrows than any other person within the cabinet. Even Secretary Rubio and Hegseth, Pete Hegseth, theirs is temporary. Hers has gone on. She's been, she's going to have some wounds because she's been taking it. And I'm not saying there's truth in it, but she is having to absorb that. And to your point, she did do a great job as governor, and I think she did a great job. But now I think, using a sports term, I think now you need to bring in a different manager for the baseball team. You need to bring in a different guy. Now you need to bring in a louder voice, someone stronger, someone that's going to push back. And she pushes back with kind of a velvet touch and white gloves. Now they're going to be pushed back by someone who's going to throw them back about 8 feet.
Yeah, especially if you're an MMA fighter, a mixed martial arts fighter. I think that you need somebody like that, right, Reggie, who's used to being in the ring.
Yes. yes. There comes a point in time, and I don't know if you heard this, but the senator there from Idaho actually had his speech about how the Iranians didn't have an ally and weren't getting any help except for the people here to my left, the Democrats. And I think that sums everything up. Truer words were never spoken. I challenged someone today. I had a little disagreement, a discussion, shall I say, and I asked them to tell me one thing that President Trump has done where they have not challenged it in the court or in some other way to stop him. There's not one thing he hasn't done that hasn't been challenged.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, from every level, whether it's the members of Congress, whether it's the judiciary voting against him at every twist and turn, whether it's, the protesters at every twist and turn. And then you've got, the other thing, not only is he fighting, with the lunacy of the left on so many of these things, that they're fighting for criminal migrants versus American citizens. I mean, that's what they're shouting to the rooftops about. So not only are they doing that, but in addition to that, they're also dealing with all these people from outside. Remember, they have people from, China and Iran and all these others, not just the major threats, of course, the physical threats that we have to worry about, but also all the funding that they're doing of protesters, the funding that they're doing of all these different activities in America. So there are slings and arrows coming from every single different direction. And, that's why, Reggie, I have compassion for people. I've covered, Washington a long time, you guys. I was based in D.C. I was senior correspondent for Fox in Washington. And I was there. I would literally see presidents age before my eyes. You'd see a young Bill Clinton coming in and he looked like a great-great-grandfather leaving. And Barack Obama coming in, and think about all the intel that they were getting. Barack Obama, remember, looked like he aged so much. His black hair was all gray by the time he leaves his presidency, just because there's such a weight of stuff that's coming at you and threats. And imagine what President Trump is dealing with, and imagine what she was dealing with, and all the intel that she was probably being told about of threats to the homeland. If that doesn't make you lose sleep at night, Reggie, I don't know what does, right?
Well, right. Well, that's what makes the comment from that from the legislator there from California even more ironic, mentioning about how she had a responsibility with the threats for Homeland Security and the threats now that we're at war. How come these threats didn't exist when you were letting in 12 million people and didn't know who they were? And on top of that, now you're voting not to fund the DHS. How legitimate can you make those threats when you're not following through? And Mark Kelly, I think I mentioned this before. There's no more loyal opposition. You can oppose what the president's doing in an honest and viable way. If Mark Kelly comes out and says, well, we're doing well militarily, but that's not the point. The point is we have to go back to what the Constitution. But no, to sit there and tell the American public that they don't know what they're doing, they have no idea what they're doing. No idea what they're doing. Oh, my God, what war are you watching?
Right. Disgraceful. And what about Hakeem Jeffries, who came out and said, oh, this is just going to be another failure in the Middle East? I mean, why would you? It's like they're rooting against America, Reggie. And I think you really hit it on the head, my friend, because that's a very powerful comment, because it's like they're working against America, even if it's an enormous success. They can't applaud it. Remember, they came out after Venezuela, a lot of them, and said, oh, this is really terrible that they actually took out this evil dictator Maduro. And people were like, huh? And I think the average American, Reggie, is listening now and going, huh? Wait a minute. They're thinking it's a problem taking out the Ayatollah, this guy who's responsible for ordering the execution of tens of thousands of his own people. And the same guy who also has, Hezbollah and Hamas and Houthis under him, all these proxy groups, and the one who has blood on his hands for ordering the execution of Americans. I mean, you look at the regime time and time again. This is an evil regime. And if anyone's going to sit out there and praise the Ayatollah, they need a psychiatrist. They shouldn't be in Congress. Reggie, thank you very much. Always great to hear from you. We're going to continue your calls, everybody, after the break. 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is The Rita Cosby Show.
So where is the war headed? And also, what about the war that's going on within the Department of Homeland Security? 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Dom in Minnesota. And Dom, I hate to say this. This is from the state of Tim Walz, who was like he was like Sergeant Schultz yesterday. I know nothing when he was testifying, Dom.
Yeah, I'm not rich enough to move either. That's the problem.
We need to start a GoFundMe for you. SaveDom.com.
Yeah. Rita, Trump should have called it Operation Global Cleanup instead of Operation Epic Fury, which is exactly what this has turned into. Trump took care of Venezuela, Iran, the border, Minnesota, and maybe China and Russia in the process. So he's cleaning the world.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? You bring up some great points there, Dom, because there's so many tentacles to this. And it is definitely giving a big wake-up call to China that was relying, of course, on a lot of Iranian oil. Also with equipment, remember, they were selling a lot of their materials to them and vice versa. Russia, too, as well. China's thinking, maybe we shouldn't move in on Taiwan. If Trump doesn't like it, we may end up in the dustbin of history. And Russia's going, wow, look at what happened when Israel and the United States teamed together. Obviously, every situation is different, but the fact that there's been such overwhelming military might and the fact that they haven't really done anything, that's amazing, Dom. What do you think of the fact that like China and also Russia have been pretty silent? I mean, they had these little kind of tepid statements like, oh, this was not a good thing or whatever the case was. But that's it. That's it. I mean that says it all, that they haven't come to Iran's aid. It doesn't look like in any shape or form.
Yeah, I don't think they would, because I think China just got the message that, we better back off. Iranians around the world are celebrating Ayatollah's death, because I heard from friends from Abu Dhabi, Dubai, India, even in Los Angeles, which has the largest concentration of Iranians in California. Just think if Los Angeles turned red thanks to the Operation Epic Fury.
that would be another great victory, right? I mean, but it's interesting. You got Gavin Newsom there, who's been doing just the opposite. He's been throwing Israel under the bus, and he used to be a big supporter of Israel, but of late, he basically said that they're an apartheid state. Where do you see? It's amazing, Dom. All of these folks. You got the Tim Walz. You got Gavin Newsom. It seems like almost every Democratic member of Congress, minus Fetterman, has been slamming Trump for whatever it is. I mean, they would say, "Oh, it's sunny today. That's terrible. Let's blame Trump."
Yeah, because he's got an appropriate name. They called him Gavin Newsom. Only thing is, he's embarrassing the name of the name scum. He's worse than scum, basically.
He's an insult to scum. Is that what it is? Is that what you're saying, Tom? Well, he certainly is playing the political game. And for some reason, I think he and the Democrats think bashing Trump, even if it means looking like they're supporting Iran, that's desperate. That's a desperate strategy.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.